This guy in the yellow hat and orange beard is named Vincent van Gogh. Vincent van Gogh's work was never successful. He couldn't sell not one painting when he was around. But today his work is admired and loved all around the world and is known as the Western artist. Vincent van Gogh was a Dutch boy. He grew up in the Netherlands, referred to Holland. It's a country located on top of Western Europe where there was lots of flowers and windmills. Vincent van Gogh's dad was a priest and worked a lot at a church around their city. Vincent went to school nearby and he never seemed to click in with the kids around him, so he was always alone looking at the landscape and all the beautiful flowers around him. Van Gogh was a very smart and bright guy. He had lots of jobs from working with his uncle in an art gallery where he got to know about art and inspire it, to being a math teacher at a board school, to being a pastor like his dad, but nothing ever seemed to make him happy. Until one day his brother, Theodore, told him that he was a great painter and he should become an artist. So Vincent painted and couldn't stop, so he decided to move in with his brother in Paris. Theo knew a couple painters and introduced them to Vincent, so he became good friends with one named Paul Gauguin. After living with his brother for 2 years, they didn't get along, so he knew it was time to go. Since Paris got so busy and didn't sell any of his paintings, so he moved South French in a town where there was sun and light. This is where he painted his famous painting of sunflowers. Unfortunately, he still felt gloomy and couldn't explain why. Vincent van Gogh is also known as the guy that cut his ear off. He had got in a fight with his friend over who was the better artist with Paul Gauguin and threatened to cut his ear, but instead cut his own ear off with a razor and also couldn't explain why. After this, Vincent went to a mental hospital in St. Remy, and this is where he spent most of his time painting. But he was also still sad and gloomy, and he didn't eat properly and drank heavily. Vincent van Gogh moved back around where his brother lived and stayed at a hospital over there and continued to work on nature paintings until he killed himself in 1890. Since his death, he became one famous guy. In this video, I'm giving you a little information on Vincent van Gogh's history and two important paintings of his and the meaning behind each one. Two pieces of art that I really liked by Vincent van Gogh are called Iris and The Road with Cypress and Stars. When Vincent van Gogh stayed in a mental hospital in St. Ram, he painted over 130 different paintings, with the surrounding of gardens, since Van Gogh loved nature and flowers. Within his first week in a mental hospital, he began painting iris flowers. And iris were influenced by Japanese woodblock prints. Van Gogh was truly influenced by the Japanese works. The use of black contours in iris is a typical element of the Japanese woodblock prints. It helped to reinforce the expressive power of the painting. In this painting, the iris are ruffled blooms crowd the canvas. The green leaves thirst out the red and orange earth. Iris is an image teeming with life rather than being cut and arranged. These flowers remain rooted in the earth, growing and blooming. This painting is really powerful. This painting of the iris by Vincent van Gogh was one of the top expensive paintings ever sold in 1887. Here is an interview with Joel Finson, Education Department at the J. Paul Getty Museum, talking about his painting.
First look at this picture, you get this overall impression of intensity, the intensity of the light, the intensity of the colors. Even the space somehow is more intense than in the real world. And in fact, he's literally compressed space so that those flowers are pressed up against the front of the picture plane. He was a true original, and what he was trying to do here was nothing less than inventing a new language for painting. If you look at irises and think about the different textures, everything has its own distinctive feel. Look at the petals of the blossoms, the petals not only of the irises, but of the marigolds in the upper left-hand corner. The scumbled, raggedy texture of the earth contrasted with the smooth, flat plains of the leaves, and especially that extraordinary interconnected web, that flurry of brushstrokes in the back. Everything has its own unique feel. Can a photograph do this? No, of course not. And in fact, he says in his letters that he believes that only the painter can express the real truth about things. It's a poetic truth. Vincent is actually trying to show us not only the power and the beauty of nature, but also of painting as well, in the hopes of leading us to a kind of spiritual experience.
Like she said, Van Gogh didn't only want us to know the power of beauty, but the power of nature. and also doing something you like. But for him, it was, of course, painting. The second image was called The Road with Cypress. I felt a happy feeling in this painting. Even though Vincent van Gogh's life was very emotional, he made his painting happy. When he was staying at the mental hospital, he liked the trees that were outside, which were called the cypress trees, and the sky, which you can see in this art. The light in this painting is not too moody, not too much darkness, but light painting, and you can tell he had a positive attitude towards the sky. For Van Gogh, the cypress is the ultimate symbol of Provence. The cypresses still preoccupy me, he writes to his brother Theo. I like to do something with them, like the canvases of the sunflowers, because it astonishes me that no one has yet done them as I see them, and that cypresses were always occupying his thoughts, and that he found them beautiful of line and proportion like an Egyptian obelisk. In ancient Egypt, obelisks were often found in Paris. Some were very high, but some were very tall. They were very heavy and very impressive, and has four sides and tapers towards the top of the pyramid-shaped point. In ancient Egypt, these huge structures were cut from one huge piece of incredibly heavy stone. They found a way to stand these huge stones upright after they had been decorated and curved with writing telling of the wonderful life and great achievements of the person each opulus honored. Van Gogh paints country road in Provence by night shortly before leaving the mental hospital at Saint-Remy. This is not an existing landscape, but instead composed as his own memory, as a final reminder of Saint-Remy, as a summary of the many impressions he occurred during the stay in the mental hospital. These two paintings have a powerful meaning because he painted these right before he died and had a powerful meaning behind them. Even though Vincent van Gogh stood alone and felt sad and gloomy, he is now a famous Western artist all around the world. Sadly, he died at the age 37. Vincent van Gogh showed people that painting could be an intense expressing activity, and today he has influenced so many people around the world to do what you love and express it by painting.